Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome. And today I'm going to be showing you guys something really cool that I just accomplished, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. So this is an update that's going to be coming out this Friday as well, included in the pack. You won't see it in the logging crate because it's kind of a really recent discovery, but I really want to get it out there to see what you guys can do. So what I did is I created an advanced version of the Waratah processor. So when I say advanced, it's a little more complicated than the one that you guys are currently using, but it's also super cool. So let me tell you all about it. So this is your regular processor head. It does very similar things like the old one does. You know, you can raise it up for felling, you can drop it, you can control your knives. But now we have the addition of the roller control. So on these rollers, we actually have a separate control for the roller arms. And now we actually have a control for feeding with the arms, being able to manually control the feeders. So this is something I've been trying to get done for a million years, and I've never been able to accomplish it. And last night, I was able to finally break through on it, and I'm having such a good time with it. I'm throwing it out kind of as an early release thing with this next pack coming here in the next couple days. I just really want to get it out there so you guys can fiddle around with it. So now, granted, this thing is the advanced version of the Waratah, and it will be called that on the download. So by all means, if you're a new person starting to FDR logging, I don't recommend using this as your starting point because there's a lot of buttons and there's a lot of stuff to set up with it. So I'm just going to really quickly go over how it works and why it's different and what it does. So now, obviously the main ticker is the feed rollers to be able to have control. So normally what would happen is if I went in and I grabbed a tree and it was way back here, let's just knock that out of there. So if I, on our current processors, if I were to go in and I grabbed a tree all the way back here, like super far back, now either you would have to drop the tree and readjust, which takes time, to find the next spot so that you can bring it up and recut it up here, or you would grab it there and you would just cut it because I'm lazy feeling, and you would just leave a huge piece behind. So now with the introduction of these rollers, you can grip up on your tree, close the rollers, and you now have the ability to run the tree backwards and forwards with these rollers, which is just an absolute feat of accomplishment for me. I'm very happy that this works. Like I said, I've always wanted to do this, and I'm really excited that it works. So just to not create more confusion, this head is exactly like the old processor. So if I don't use these rollers at all, like if I just leave them and I just use the knives on the back, I can go in, grab it. It turns on just like the processor. So if you hit B, it turns on the head. X cuts the head. Whatever length you have set, you can still hit X, run it out, cut your logs. It's exactly the same as the old processor. Now, if you drop the log by turning the head off, it sits freely in the head like that. Now, when you close these rollers, you now have control to feed it backwards and forwards inside the head. But obviously, if the head's on, that's not going to work. So, for instance, if I go grab this guy here, and I want to bring it up, let's cut it about here. Well, actually, let's run it right to its max point. So like right about there. So that way we have lots of meat on it. So now I have it in the processor head right now. Like the processor head's made its first cut. The processor head's holding it. So it's not my claws that are holding it anymore. So if I run it just by hitting X, it'll run out to its length that I have set. But now if I decide, looking at the end of that log, I don't like the way it looks. It's kind of ugly. All I have to do is hit B to turn the head off, and then run it backwards. Whoops, backwards. See, I'm so new to this, it's even tripping me out. So I run it backwards, and I find the point where I want to make my cut again. And you have full control to run it however you want. So for instance, if I wanted to make the cut like here, see, I can see it's kind of an ugly end. It's all starred up, and it looks kind of scarred. So all I got to do is turn the head off by hitting B, and then run it ahead, turn the head back on by hitting B, and then hitting X to cut. And you can do this all day if you want. I mean, you know, run it all you want, run it back, run it forward, and it's pretty cool to be able to do that. So we'll just finish running this one up here, cut it there, and like I said, you can just run it like a regular processor, and just cut your pieces. The other thing is, so if you have an end top, let's grab this tree right here, and we'll bring it back a little bit. There we go. Again, there are a lot of new controls now, so it might be a little bit tricky for people to get used to, but I'm going to show you guys the control side here too as well. So if these rollers are not all the way up, if they're not making contact with that log, the log will not spin. So right now they're making contact, so it'll pull it through. But if they have any kind of height, so for instance, my claws on the back are really tightened up, and it's kind of lifting it off so the rollers aren't really touching it. If you ever have that problem, all you gotta do is just lower your back claws so that it's sitting on the rollers, and then it'll free run between it. But sometimes if you're back feeding and stuff, it feels a little weird because this back claw will grip it up, and then your rollers won't reach it, so your rollers kind of sit there and just spin freely. And then, like I said, all you gotta do is just drop it. So sometimes I'll just drop it like that so that the rollers are the only contact point. But if your rollers aren't touching the log, it won't feed. So like, for instance, if I have my claws up, my rollers open, it won't go anywhere. It just sits there. So these contact has to be made with these rollers in order for the log to feed. But you guys will figure that out if you mess around with it and play with it. So, control side. The controls changed a little bit because I had to create new controls, obviously, as there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. So what I did is I moved, and I'm going to create a thing on fdrlogging.com/help next to our control guide just so you guys can see what I did. So if you go all the way down this really terribly long list, you'll see these two controls. So there's crane support arm and crane support arm 2, and then there's extend cutter reel and retract cutter reel. So these are already existing controls in the game. I didn't have to add anything. I'm just taking them over for this machine particularly. So what I have is for the crane support arm, I have that set. The crane support arm is the roller feed. So crane support arm are these guys spinning. That's what those are, like that. And then the cutter wheel, I'll do that first. So the cutter wheel is going to be your lifting and lowering of this. Your knives on the back, that's just your open close of your grapple the same way it's always been. That's not any different. The actual roller arms closing and opening is going to be the same button that telescopes your forwarder arm, raises the button, top stabilizers, that secondary claw button. So that one's going to be set for that. And again, you don't have to do it this way. You can set them however you want, but this is the way I have it, and it feels pretty natural when I'm cutting, but you guys can fiddle with that. So for the roller spin, so to feed it backwards, meaning the log goes, well, here, let's grab a log. I'll test it here. So to feed it backwards away from me that way, I have that set as my left joystick top right button. So the furthest right on the top on your left joystick. That feeds it, sorry, I'm just gonna run it ahead here, but that feeds it in that direction. And then on my right joystick, furthest button to the left on the top, that one runs it to the left. Now that might seem backwards to some people, but that it makes sense to me because my run is on my right hand, so it might, but you guys can set it to whatever you want. That's just my reference point. So yeah, left joystick, top right button runs it to the right. Right joystick, top left button runs it to the left. And you guys, like I said, you guys can set it to whatever you want. But okay, so that's good. Now I have my lifting of my head. So like the actual felling position. I have that on my right joystick, POV right to raise it. And then right joystick POV left to lower it. So right joystick right, or right joystick POV right, right joystick POV left. Sorry to get confused when I say all these commands all the time. But like I said, I'll create a little thing on there for you guys to take a look at, and you can decide whether you want to set it up that way or not. So let's go for a little walk here. And again, like I said, this is the advanced version, so felling trees, doing that kind of stuff, it's all going to be a little more complicated now, because now you don't just have one button, you have 3 now when you want to fell a tree. Because you got your knives, you got your roller arms, and you got your tilt. So those are all 3 separate commands that you have to control. So I'll raise my head, go in. Now it's your choice whether you want to close your roller arms or not. You don't have to close your roller arms on the tree. But I bet you could probably run it up the tree if you closed it all the way. I don't know. Oops, I've never actually tried that. Oh yeah, see, well, you can kind of run it. Cool. Anyway, something new I'm playing with. So you don't have to close the roller arms if you want. You can just use the claws if you want to kind of X out a command. So cut it. You can just cut it just like normal. Drop it. And again, you have full control to just run it like a processor if you want. Keep your roller arms closed or open, your call. And then, you know, if you want to ditch the tops, you know, you can run them out, shoot them away, do whatever you want with the little bits and pieces. But yeah, it just gives you a little bit more dimension of control. And like I said, the biggest thing is just being able to control that tree when you go to pick it up with those roller arms. Like, to be able to run it back and forth is a huge factor when you're processing. Like I said, if I wanted to trim something off that end, I could just run up there. But normally, like I said, you'd have to find the spot and just hope to heck you get it right on that spot, you know, to grab it. Now you just run it where you want it, and it feels so natural and so good. And I don't know how the heck I ever did it without it before, but so yeah, this is a huge breakthrough in modding, and I am very excited to get this out to you. So this will be coming this Friday. It will be included in the big download all mod pack there for you guys. Like I said, you won't see it on the logging crate video because it is a new discovery since I recorded that. But yeah, no, it should be pretty exciting, and I'm really stoked to see what you guys can do with it and what you can break. Consider it a beta version because I haven't done full testing. I've just knocked down a whole bunch of logs. So yeah, anyway, leave any comments or questions you have below in the comments, and I can't wait to get this to you guys. Should be fun. We'll talk to you guys later. See ya.